Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing very well today. As you can see, we're going to be looking at the HEADRUSH core and hopefully answering two very important questions. Number one, well, what does it sound like? And number two, what is it like to use? Let's find out. Now, of course, the whole point of the core is to create a more portable HEADRUSH. And as you guys can see, it's just sitting on my desktop here. Audio interface, keyboard, just for reference in terms of like width and length and that kind of stuff. It is very portable. This is the first time I'm ever using a HEADRUSH product. So it's going to be really interesting to talk about, the user interface, if I can figure it out easily, if it's intuitive, and of course what it sounds like. And for those who are more familiar with the HEADRUSH, they're known for the amp cloning, as you guys can see there, Wi-Fi, cloud, Bluetooth, all that stuff. Also auto-tune. I've never seen that on like a guitar focused unit before. So yeah, if you're a vocalist, you can put a mic in and actually lay your tracks down with auto-tune. So that's something I don't think anybody else offers. Really interesting. Yeah, so let's check this unit out. Now, for those who are interested in tech specs, I will link to this unit in the video description below. You can check out all the tech specs there. I'm going to be focusing, as I mentioned, on usability and tones. As a guitarist, that's what interests me most about these units. Is it easy to use and what does it sound like? So on the back, tons of ins and outs. Here's your mic input. As I mentioned, auto-tune, so you got your individual gain control and input just for a microphone. That's pretty cool. Guitar in, expression pedal, sends, all that kind of stuff. Outputs here, XLR outputs. That's what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to go XLR left and right into my audio interface. So that's how I'm going to be using the unit today. You can also use it via USB as a recording interface. So if you don't have your own dedicated interface, the HEADRUSH core becomes an interface, which is then more important that it has that mic input, which is pretty cool. MIDI, as you can see, USB, all that kind of stuff. Now today I'll be using the Valiant Soothsayer. Very cool guitar. It does have humbucking pickups, so if you want to, match up some of the patches I'm using, but you have like a low output Strat with single coils, bear that in mind. It will sound a little different, but if you have a Les Paul or Ibanez PRS, anything with humbucking pickups like this, it should sound very similar. So that's the first thing I want to mention. Let's check this thing out. Now the heart of the core is definitely the touchscreen, and that's what makes using it so easy. It's all drag and drop. So if I want to get rid of my verb here, I can just grab it, drag it down, and you can delete it, but I want it, so I'm going to keep it. If I want something else, I just hit tap. I can pick whatever I want here. Let's pick an overdrive. I don't know. Let's just grab that. And then there's a bunch of like presets, bluesy, boost, crunchy, heavy, whatever. I'm just going to pick default. There it is. And if you want it on, of course you can use the pedals. You can also just tap it off and on. And if you want to edit it, you double tap it. Then from there, you can choose your gain just by swiping. If you want to be more precise, you use the wheel and you can adjust like, little bits. But if you want to, just go big or small in bigger chunks, use your finger. Super easy. And then you can keep it, you can save it, as, a favorite pedal setting. And then you can, obviously save your overall scene. If I don't want it, let's just get rid of it and boom, it's gone. So the touchscreen, super important. Top left is your main menu. That's something everybody's going to want to know. Global settings there. You can tweak everything to your heart's desire. Something really important is hardware assign, because if you want to assign something to a pedal, which most people will do, I'm just going to zoom back out a bit here so you guys can see the pedals. It's drag and drop again. So if I want to assign the verb to pedal 3 here, I'll go down. There it is. Pedal 3 lights up blue because it's a blue pedal. And now in and out, you can see the pedal off and on. That's how easy it is to assign something to a pedal switch. If I want to go this one to pedal 4, you'll see it goes red because the pedal is red, off and on there. That's hardware assign. Super powerful, super important for just assigning pedals to your switch. The other thing is global EQ. I've talked about this before. Sometimes people just grab units and they just use the stock tones. They don't learn how to edit it. And then they're like, oh, I don't like any of the tones. Well, yeah, these were set up in studios with like super high-end equipment. You need to bring it into your own practice space if you're plugging it into an amp, powered speaker, PA system, computer, whatever you're going to plug a unit into, use your own gear and plug it in using your own studio monitors, mic or whatever. So the global EQ, very important, because if you're like all the tones are just a little off for me, use the global EQ. EQ the whole unit to your guitar and your amp, that kind of stuff. Super powerful. That's what I want to say about that. Let's start building some tones. All right, you guys, so here's a closer look at the patch that you just heard. Now this was the stock patch when I first turned on the core. Of course, I changed everything to suit my own needs and my own rig and that kind of stuff. The amp, you double tap and it opens it up. You can see it's the PV6505 Plus lead, and you can see all my settings there. And as I mentioned, you just kind of tweak it. I think I had it on 65, maybe. And then, yeah. There's a second page with presence and resonance. And presence is that top end shimmer, and resonance is those sympathetic frequencies, as if you're playing through a big cab, and it just kind of creates a more expansive tone. So you can mess around with those. Those are my settings for this amp. Really great crunchy tone, love that. So that's kind of like the amp settings. You can just hit the back button and go. You can see I do have a gate, and you can just, well, we'll double tap it there. You can see my settings. The nice thing is you can audition if you want it or not just by tapping it. So there you should be able to hear some of that 60 cycle hum. Tap it to turn it on, and you can see the gate crushes all that hum. And obviously you can hear I have verb. All the tones are coming straight from the unit, nothing from my computer at all. It's just no EQ, nothing. It's all from the unit. So there it is. And the nice thing, of course, is you put your reverb after the gate. So the gate closes, but the verb keeps going. That's super important for a realistic tone. And then, of course, as you can see, we've got the tube screamer. I'll double tap to open that. So this is with it off. Just kind of drives it into that saturation a bit. Of course, you can pick the color. That'll correspond with the switch. You can see my tone is kind of a little bit lower on the tube screamer. Just right there. Of course, you could crank up the treble. I like to keep it low, especially if I'm using this as kind of like a lead boost, which I am in this case. Yeah, so I can just assign it to my lead switch, and then you can see it's off, and you just have the rhythm, and then it kicks in. I'm just using the foot switches there. So that's kind of the main unit. Let's add a delay. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to add here, but let's go to the delays, and let's just see if we can get, oh, there's a bunch here. Stereo doubler, pitch delay. Let's just try an analog delay. And I'm just going to, again, use the default setting. Let's double tap it. Oh, okay, so it's got that really modulated, like thick delay tone. Like all the trebles off on it. So in this case, probably not the delay I'm gonna want because it's like really kind of atmospheric. So I'm gonna get rid of that. Let's try a different one. Let's go back to delays. Super easy to use with a touchscreen. Like that's just the best part of this. Let's just try, I don't know, dynamic delay. And let's get some, open that up. Let's turn the mix way down because we kind of want it just like a solo tone. Feedback, let's take way back. That's getting closer. I'm gonna take the mix even down. And when you wanna make those tight, like, 1% differences, the rotary knob is definitely the way to go. Getting close. I'm gonna take that mix even further down. That's the one. Perfect for like a solo tone. So there we go. We can go back, and then I'll just tap top right and I'll save the patch. There we go. And then we can assign it to a foot switch. So when you're playing live, you can go. You can actually also just use the tap here. So if you just want your rhythm tone, you see it takes out the tube screamer. If I want to go lead, it takes the tube screamer in. If I want the verb off, so on and so forth. So you can actually just use the taps if you're just sitting with it on your desk and you're wanting to get some studio tones going. Really, really nice to use the touchscreen. All right, so here's the patch I used for that breakup tone. The amp, let's open that up. You can see it's the Black Lux Norm, and there's the settings. if you guys want to try to match them. Yeah, really, really nice kind of clean breakup amp. Let's go back and let's talk about the overall tone here. Really clean and lush, so I like that amp quite a bit. And here you can see we have that delay that I took off the first patch that we were talking about because it was a little bit too, you know, atmospheric and swirly. Here it's just perfect for that. Just that kind of like really modulated delay tone. And for the breakup, we also have, again, the drive. So if you just want that little bit of, you know, let's turn that off. And yeah, I don't think we're going to need the volume pedal, although that would be like amazing for a patch like this to have the expression pedal. So I'm going to get rid of that. The compressor I don't want for this. If I want any of that compression, I'm just going to use the tube screamer. That just gives you a little bit of breakup and a little bit of that. Yeah, let's open up the MXR. Really nice. I don't think I'm going to use it on the patch at this moment, but I'm going to leave it there because it is kind of like that, yeah, classic whooshy phaser. Chorus, I'm going to move that over just to organize the patch here. Let's turn that on. Awesome, and if we want more depth, we just drag and drop there. So that's just how easy it is to interact with it. I prefer just using the touchscreen. It's just so intuitive. Awesome stuff. And then yes, we could organize the rest of the stuff. Again, I'm not going to want the volume. Get rid of that. Don't want that. Verb, we want. Let's keep that one. Delay, we want. Actually, you know what I should do is make sure that I'm going to move those over. I'm going to put my amp here first, and then these guys will go kind of like in the effects loop because you want your verb and your delay. I'm going to switch the order of those. There we go. Then my delay has some verb on it, and then the amp here. So that's kind of a good workflow. You've got some of your stuff. You could even put some of the choruses behind the amp too if you prefer it, or the phaser. Overdrive definitely, and if you had the gate, that should all go in front of the amp. And then parametric EQ, I don't want that for this one, so let's simplify that. And then once you are happy with the patch, so lush, so beautiful. So anyway, then you tap the top right, you save it, and you're good to go. So next time you have at least a starting point, and then you can go, like I said, to your menu, hardware assign, drag whichever of those pedals you want associated with a foot switch. That's how easy it is. And then just go back to your rig, done. So really cool. Let's try a couple more tones. All right, you guys, let's try building another tone. You can see we've got the tread lead, and I'm assuming the tread plate is like a Mesa Boogie type amp. So we've got the tread plate modern, and there's a bunch of different ones. Well, I mean, it's never ending. So let's just try building one of these. Gain is up, presence is up, treble is up. Let's turn some of that stuff down and just have a listen to what this thing sounds like. Yeah, it is quite bass heavy, so I'm gonna, let's dial some of the bass and maybe some of the mids up. Presence, I'm gonna crank the presence right up. Yeah, that's a nice tone just to, start off with as a bass tone. Yeah, I'm gonna want even more treble. That is closer for me anyway. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna just save that. So there we go. Don't want to forget my starting point. There's the gate. I think we're going to want that for this type of tone. We do have some verb on. Obviously, we can just tap the bottom half of that and then listen to it completely dry. So not super high gain, but a nice like kind of modern crunch. I like that a lot. And then yeah, if we want the verb and the delay, we can just turn those on. That's nice for lead. So you just assign those to a foot switch and then you can bring them in and out. I think I'm going to leave the verb on. I think I'm going to turn the delay off for now. That's nice. Okay, so now the next thing I want to talk about is the parametric EQ. So I'm going to double tap that because this is a really powerful tool. So if you're finding like, oh, I really love like the crunch level of the amp or the basic attributes of the amp, but I just need a little more EQ. Right? That's where the parametric EQ comes. Here you can see it's completely sucking down all the low end. I don't know if I want to do it that high. Maybe we'll just take some of the highs down a bit. This is the overall gain of the pedal because if you suck out a bunch of frequencies, your overall volume will drop. So that's what the master gain is for. So if you suck everything down and your tone's like, oh, I got no volume, you just use that one to compensate. So that's what that's all about there. Let's boost the treble a bit. Even though I kind of cranked it on the amp. You know what, I'm going to keep some of those general mids, and then yeah, the low ones there. I'm not going to do the complete happy face. Now let's audition it, okay? Let's hit it on. Okay, so we're in the right direction. I think it's a little bit too much for me. I don't want to add a ton at like 200. That gets very, very boomy, and we don't really need much at 100. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Let's turn it off. So if you want that warm tone, that's perfect. If you want the ability to kind of kick it in and out, just assign that to a foot switch. Let's take the gain up to compensate. Yeah, so I mean you can get all the squealies and stuff. So the parametric EQ, you might not, you know, think of it as a go-to pedal for a unit like this, but I know a lot of people are like, the stock patches, you know, I just can't get along with them. You know, slap one of these in your signal chain, assign it to a pedal if you want, and suddenly, you know, if the amp is too muddy for you or it's just not fitting, try using that pedal and it, you know, can turn an kind of like a blah or boring amp right on its head. So very, very powerful pedal. Yeah, just with the addition of that pedal, I like the amp a ton more. I'm going to go ahead and turn on that delay too and try that. And if you want a warmer tone, obviously you kick it out. And finally, an atmospheric track. I have not modified this one at all, so this is a completely stock track. So this patch is absolutely perfect for channeling that early David Gilmour, Pink Floyd tone. I do think this patch would benefit from maybe like an overdrive right at the beginning, you know, for some of those tones like Shine On You Crazy Diamond, where you need a little bit of that just break up grit. So let's go ahead and add one. Let's go to overdrive and let's add just the default version here. Let's open it up and see what it sounds like. So I really wanted to show you guys what it's like to use the HEADRUSH core in real time tweaking the unit. It's one thing to listen to like a virtuoso player, you know, jam out like 10 or 20 tracks on a unit and make it sound amazing. It's another thing to see it in real use. So I hope you guys found that helpful. User interface, insanely easy. Like, I didn't break out the manual once, and there's a whole, series of instructional videos out for it and stuff. I didn't even use any of that stuff. To say it's intuitive is an understatement. It's intuitive, and that is a huge win in my book. And in terms of the tones, well, if there was tones I didn't like, I could fix it like in 3 minutes of just tweaking and adding pedals, like I talked about the graphic EQ pedal or the master graphic EQ or whatever. So, obviously I'm going to have my favorite amps on this unit, as, everybody does with their units. There's certain tones that you gravitate towards and really love. But like I said, tweaking and dragging and dropping makes this like insanely easy to use. So yeah, tones, if I didn't like one, I could fix it. That is a win. User interface, probably the best unit I've ever used, like just because of that touchscreen is just so intuitive. And one of the things I always think about is how much menu diving do I have to do? And in this unit, it's not a lot. Like, there's obviously going to be menu diving because these units have become like so advanced. There's so many features. So you're going to have to like dig every once in a while. But in terms of like creating patches, almost nothing. One touch to open a pedal, tweak it, go back to your main screen. Couple touches maximum to get to a second page. That's it. So yeah, really intuitive, and I think sounds great. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you found the demo useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I will link to the unit down in the video description below. Full tech specs, pricing, all that kind of stuff is down there. You can check it out if you're so inclined. All my information will be down in the video description below as well. Other than that, have yourself a great day. Take care.